It takes a long time to find your people. I found my people when I discovered who I was and what I wanted to do. Just started really understanding who I wanted to be around, and it is people who are positive, creative, want to make the most out of life. Who you surround yourself with really makes a difference, and I've realised that more and more, and that's why I just try and be around positive people who like bringing ideas to life.
Welcome to the Curious Corner, where we unravel the stories behind our guests through the lens of curiosity. In today's episode, I'm joined by Sean Webster, who is an entrepreneur, artist, and creator of his own IP, The Powers Universe. Sean, thanks for agreeing to come on today. How are you doing?
I'm really well. How are you?
I'm doing super well. Glad that we're finally making this happen. It's been a while, but excited to get into it. For those hearing about you for the first time, could you please give the listeners a brief insight into who is Sean Webster?
Yeah, so I am a creator / entrepreneur. I live in London, 21, and I've just been creating all of my life, I guess, and currently involved in many different creative projects, and started in like the arts world when I was about 14, just kind of selling like drawings that I'd done on market stalls, and then slowly started like growing up into like getting my own studio, take commission work, and then it was at a point when I realised actually you can make money from being a creative, that I realised actually this could be a job that I can do, and then just found a really good network of people who have kind of lifted me into this industry now, and yeah, it's super exciting.
Let's go back to your earlier years. You obviously mentioned that you're a very creative kid growing up. So yeah, what other than that, like what were you like as a kid growing up?
Yeah, I was quite quiet, shy. I was the kid who would go and sit in the art room at school and not really hang out with anyone. But I think doing that, I think now I'm more of an outgoing person. I love being around people. I love meeting new people. And I think that is because I wasn't really like that as a kid. And it took a long time for me to find myself and why I wanted to just go and sit away and be with my own ideas. And I think it is purely because I'm just always wanting to create stuff. So I'd say as a kid I was a very different person for sure. But I feel like, you know, when you listen to like, I don't know, podcasts with someone who is massive in the creative world, they all have similar stories, and you know, it makes me feel a lot better about it. But yeah, it's quite quiet. Used to just love drawing, reading. I was a big book person as a kid. My mum, she used to write children's books, still does. So that kind of introduced me to this whole world as well. You know, like when I was a kid, she would get me to draw characters that she'd written like the stories about. So I was 7 or 8 doing these rubbish drawings, but all that looking back has helped me, I guess, do this now. You know, they were like kind of creative briefs as a kid that, yeah, I think that's why it comes so natural, is just always being around that world. Yeah.
And I guess, like, as you said, being the kid that goes to a quiet room and just kind of like doodles and like, you know, draws. Did you then like feel because of that when you're in school and college that you didn't really like fit in?
Yeah, I think it takes a long time to find your people, doesn't it? And I found my people probably 3 or 4 years ago when I discovered who I was and what I wanted to do, which was, you know, create, be entrepreneurial. And in college, for example, my tutor told, like, I do a lot of cartoon work, and my tutor said, those drawings are too childish. So I left college, and I was just like, slowly kind of just started really understanding who I wanted to be around. And it is people who are positive, creative, you know, want to make the most out of life, and also like being around people, meeting new people. I think who you surround yourself with really makes a difference. And I've realised that more and more, and that's why I just try and be around positive people, I guess, positive people who like bringing ideas to life.
100%. Yeah, and I know, like, I think you even said, like, in the early days, in fact, that maybe you were more introverted, that then your artwork is a way of like expressing yourself, and almost that art was the extrovert in you coming out, which I found super interesting.
Yeah, in the early days, I used to do a lot of street art, and I think that was almost, yeah, my way of communicating. It's funny, I feel like I said, a lot of creative people do tend to have that quiet side of them, and it just takes time to find the more outgoing side of you as well. I think more recently I've really discovered that is from being around other people who bring that out in me. Yeah.
For sure. You obviously mentioned about, being in college and receiving the criticism from your tutors, but ultimately, wanting to, pursue your passion for art. So yeah, I know like you obviously dropped out of college, then you got your own art studio. Very like, I guess like big decisions to make at a young age and kind of like breaking away from, I guess like the normal. Yeah. So like, what was that experience like for you?
Then I just thought I'd what, £50 pocket money or whatever, and I just spent it all firstly on a market stall. The drawings I was selling were terrible, but it gave me that experience of being out there and actually putting the work you created in front of people who would want to buy it. Instead of being in college and drawing and then it just going in a cupboard and no one seeing it. It gave me that other, I guess, view of actually this is another way you can do it. I always say I feel like I had my own like personal little kind of education experience from going down the more entrepreneurial route of selling my work as a kid, renting a studio at 17. Like it was, like you said, big step, but go big or go home. Like why not just throw yourself in at the deep end and work it out? I didn't know what I was doing. Still don't know what I'm doing. But who does? Take big steps and work out one way or another.
Yeah, I guess ironically, like through making that bold move, you probably learned more about yourself. And then, like I say, kind of go on this like always self-discovery journey, which you probably wouldn't have had as much if you'd just stayed in college. And yeah, like I know during that time, you obviously refined your artwork style quite a lot. You became a lot more, I guess, part of the Liverpool art community. And then, had like numerous collaborations as well within that time and made some pretty cool pieces of artwork as well. Yeah. So just kind of a like self-discovery journey. I feel like it's kind of like you said, like if you didn't take a risk, then
100%. And I mean, just people, like I said, being around people, like one of the first really influential people who I met through that journey was a UFC fighter called Molly McCann. And I ended up illustrating her picture book, but she had this fighter mindset. And I just being around her, pick bits out. And it's like, oh, okay, like she's going for it. So that being around her was great. And then, meet people in the industry and like events and stuff who were also just, so kind of like forward thinking. And what I've discovered is like, I feel like a lot of people who, and this is not me saying like university's not the way to go, is it? But like for me, I just found that actually like there's this balance of like, I feel like a lot of people who I know who went to university see industry people as like these big scary monsters that you only meet after 3 years of being in university. Whereas actually, for me, I just went and met them straight away and they were so welcoming, were willing to help and give me advice and stuff. So, I've got a lot of people to thank for just opening those doors, letting me, kind of just be around what they're doing and taking a shot on me.
yeah, for sure. And I feel like personally as well, like for me, like I didn't go to uni either. But I think what that allowed me by not going was more to it kind of again go through more of a self-discovery, self-awareness phase of just like, what am I like deeply passionate about and what do I deeply enjoy and like where do I want to go and what do I want to do?
It gives you more time for yourself, doesn't it, to actually figure that out. Like personal time is quite important to me still for that reason. Like just to kind of sit back and reset and think, actually, is this the right direction? Is this what I actually want to be spending my time doing? Having that time is important.
100%. And then like, as you said, like meeting people from like all different like walks of life and they all have like different backgrounds and experiences and just kind of rubbing shoulders with those people and like learning from them, then yeah, that obviously has like a huge impact.
100%.
Okay, cool. So now fast forward to today, you're now the creator of the Powers universe. So for those listening, what is the Powers universe?
Yeah, so the Pals started, I was sat in a cafe and I was having a massive creative block, and I just drew this little cartoon character, thought it looked cute. Fast forward 8,000 more characters, all hand drawn into sketchbooks. Pals Universe was born. And yeah, the Pals is basically a world of characters called pals and foes, and they represent our well-being and emotions. And they're cute, silly, simple characters with these really kind of deep meanings behind them. And it's something that I've been developing over the past 2 years. It started as an NFT collection. It was a free mint NFT collection. It minted out under 3 hours, which was amazing considering like the kind of time we launched it, where the market was just completely dead. But after that, I realized actually maybe the Pals could be more. Maybe it isn't just an NFT collection. It could be this massive kind of kids entertainment brand. So I've just spent 2 years understanding, learning about that industry, and currently like really pushing on the development of, animation, toys, you name it. We want to build the Pals into the next Mr. Men, the next Hello Kitty, the next big kids IP that will make a difference. Like, I think the big thing that made me want to do it was, you look at the kids animations that are out there now, there isn't one that solely focuses on talking about well-being. A lot of them are purely like just, most of them are just fun to watch, aren't they? But if you can have this subtle lesson under the animation that kids don't know they're learning when they're watching it, but they actually are, I think that'd be really cool to just make a difference in that way. It's super exciting. Like, we've got our main characters now. We've got a lot up and coming. We've put the Pals universe under a studio called Digimedia, which we're going to build out. I mean, my big dream is to kind of turn that into the next, like Lucasfilm style entertainment studio where, I want to do the Pals and then go from there and see what else happens.
Yeah, I love that. And I know the Pals has a deeper meaning. And I know you've like referenced before that maybe like there's a lot of other IPs and cartoons, but they don't necessarily convey any kind of real deeper meaning message. So what do you look to communicate with the world through the Pals universe?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, we've got the Pals and the foes, and the Pals are all positive emotions and experiences, and the foes are the not so positive. So foes represent fear, self-doubt, anxiety. We all have an experience that. Same way the Pals represent, positivity and kindness, and it's showing kids that there actually is that balance in the world. And it's, I think like it's not shown in schools enough. It's not shown on TV enough. That, just exposing kids to that kind of reality in a friendly, fun, not, this is, the big scary world ahead of you. Like, just kind of preparing them in a way to when they do feel a little bit insecure. Like, that's like, it's like I saw on the Pals universe last night, when I was watching it on TV. Like, that type of thing. Just, I want these characters to really be something that kids feel comfort from and feel like they can relate to, and that kind of lead them into as they grow up, like, even looking back, like I'm probably saying for you, like, we didn't really have a show like that growing up, did we? Not that when we were kids we were looking for it, but now it's like, actually, it would actually be helpful, wouldn't it, to just teach kids about that?
Yep, I completely agree. I guess, like, for many, COVID gave many people a chance to reflect. And I know COVID for you, again, was kind of part of that important phase of self-discovery. So how did that time shape your understanding of yourself as an artist and an individual?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was it made me want to, as soon as we could go out again, just go out and chase as many kind of goals that I had. It also, like I say, like, personal time is super important to me. So it gave me that time to really reflect. I pretty much spent it building out, I guess, my personal brand as like a creator. I spent COVID working from home, set up a little studio, still at mum and dad's house then, so it was a kind of like makeshift studio in the bedroom type thing. But yeah, I know I spent a lot of time watching, videos of, like, I guess, kind of the people I look up to, like Gary Vee and all all the kind of people like that. And yeah, it was a really important time. I mean, it was nice spending time with family as well. That was something that I look back on and think, actually, that was nice, being able to spend, 2 years just with your family at home. Like, that side of it was actually a really, really nice experience. And yeah, learned a lot about myself and spent it, like I say, pretty much just creating.
Nice. And like, I know during that time, like, what are some of the common, say, like, psychological hurdles you observed or personally encountered along your journey, and how have you navigated them?
Yeah, I think the biggest one sticks out to me is imposter syndrome. Like, I feel that every day, imposter syndrome, and I don't think it will ever go away. It's another reason I've created the Pals universe, is because there are all those like little personal touches that I want to kind of put into something and kind of like push those insecurities into these characters, so it can help other people. But yeah, it's imposter syndrome, like being in rooms with people who I look up to and respect, and that like value their time. Like I'm sitting there thinking, like, why am I here? I don't know if have you had that before?
So when I think of imposter syndrome, my mind goes to mainly when the job I'm currently in, when I first started there, I kind of felt that I didn't deserve to be there. So I had imposter syndrome because, yeah, it was the whole thing of like, I feel like I don't fit in here because I feel like everyone around me is like, a lot more advanced, let's say, in their careers than what I am. So I had imposter syndrome then, and that probably lasted like 6 to 8 weeks. But what I realized after that was actually the reverse, which is basically any time I felt imposter syndrome, it was a good thing because it meant that I was in a room of people that, I looked up to, or, that were further along with me. And therefore I kind of flipped it into, if I feel imposter syndrome in a room, then it's a good feeling because it means I'm in a room of people that I'm going to learn from, and therefore I'm growing. So I kind of played the reverse card on that one, but that's been my main experience.
Yeah, like, and everyone I've spoken to who are those people that I look up to and stuff, like, they've said, oh yeah, we still get it, it still happens. And I think, yeah, to your point, it shows that you're putting yourself out your comfort zone. And in a way, I chase that feeling. And even though it's a little bit uncomfortable, I've learned how to manage it and tell myself it's a good thing. Like, you're lucky you're feeling that, because if you weren't, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of, you need to, there's probably like you can be, if you want, you can be in your comfort zone, but you're never going to grow just by being in your comfort zone. So you need kind of a healthy amount of being uncomfortable in order to continue growing. I even saw something recently, and it was kind of like saying how the same is for like anxiety. And it's basically saying that anytime you're anxious, it's probably because you're like, you care about something, or you're excited that something's going to happen. And therefore, you feel, a bit anxious because of that. And again, it was kind of trying to turn that negative feeling and then like turning it into a positive, like, yeah, if you're anxious, it's probably because, yeah, you care about it or you're excited about it. And therefore, like, you should care.
And I think it's cool we're talking about this, because this is a big thing, like, around the Pals universe, is would love to be the person who can just talk openly about this type of stuff, like how we all actually feel. Like, why don't people don't talk about it enough, do they? So another side of Pals is we're launching. This is like not connected to the brand, which is another thing I'm doing. Is let's be pals, where I'm gonna kind of just sit down with people like we are now and just talk to them about this stuff, and get the kind of just the truth out there to show people, like, we're all the same. We all go through these positive and not so positive experiences, and it's completely fine, and it's not a negative thing at all. Like, I'd love to kind of break the fear of talking about this stuff, because I feel like like there'll be some people who feel like, oh, people are going to think like I'm weak, and but actually no, it's the complete opposite. If you can speak about this stuff, then
it's a strength.
It's cool. Yeah.
Because most people aren't willing to speak about. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do this as well, because day-to-day living, it is kind of a case of you see someone, they're like, oh, how are you doing? And they say, they don't even think about how they actually are. They just say, yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah.
And then that's kind of usually where the conversation stops. And it's like, well, let's peel back the layers,
100%.
So yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. What advice would you give to fellow entrepreneurs who may be struggling with feelings of, I guess, like loneliness or imposter syndrome or isolation?
Yeah. Surround yourself with cool people and nice people, and you're onto a winner, because that's the best thing you can do. Just put yourself in cool rooms, be around people who have similar interests to you, and that's what I've done, and it's really, really helped. Yeah, the simple answer. And I'd say as well, just if you're feeling like nervous about an idea or something, like my friend always laughs and says this is my catchphrase, but I always just say go for it. Just go for it. Like, and that's the best advice, is just go for it and make it happen and find a way, because there's always a way. And this is me talking from very little experience, and only 21, but it's, again, I'm just kind of very aware of what other people have said to me as well, and that just seems to be the advice, is go for it, because no one really truly knows what they're doing.
Yeah. I think also there's just this kind of, like, I've had like conversations with like people as well, and like maybe they've came out of uni, they've moved back home, and now they're just like, well, there's not many people to talk to around, here, and I think the whole bigger thing of this is like people nowadays seem to like struggle to find their community or like their people, whether it's like you're an artist, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you're like a fitness person, like whatever it is, whatever, gets you going, then people seem to struggle to like find their community. But yeah, there's obviously like numerous clubs and events, but that can be even like intimidating for a lot of people. So,
Yeah. And I'd say as well, like it's putting yourself in many different groups, isn't it? It's like, I've got multiple different kind of like communities that, very different types of people, but I love that, because you're getting different vibes from all of them, and you pull bits, and everyone you're around shapes who you are, don't they? So just best thing I'd say is just surround yourself with good people, because
100%.
What's the phrase? Like the top 3 people you're around, something is who you are, type of thing. So
yeah, it's like top 5, top 10, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, like even if you feel intimidated by going to a club or going to an event, which if you're doing that for your first time can be intimidating, then I think even just starting like trying to find a community online, like that's how we originally met, was just through online, and then obviously things progress.
It's weird you've said that. Sorry to jump in. It's weird you've said that. Like on the subject of like anxiety and stuff, it's weird, and I can say this confidently because, and it sounds quite like big heads, but I know for a fact I could go on, and if you said to me there's 100 people waiting for you to just come and like chat to them on a stage now, I'd happily go and do that. And I can go to like a networking event, feel completely fine. But the things I overthink and get anxious about are like the stupid things, like, am I going to knock this glass of water over and embarrass myself in this room? It's like, it's mad. Like everyone's got their own little anxiety pockets, haven't they?
It's more like not for you to stop the big things, it's like the little things.
Yeah, I overthink the most stupid stuff, and that's why I just keep telling myself like, stop, like, again, that, going back to the pals, like it's showing that, like that's quite a weird probably scenario for me, is like I can do those things, but I think about those things a bit too much. Like, want the characters to show like they're not your typical personalities. You know what I mean? Like, just make them as relatable as possible. It just hasn't been done before, I don't think, and I want to do it with these characters.
Last year, I finished reading a book by Matt Higgins, who is a renowned entrepreneur, investor, and author called Burn the Boats. Burn the Boats is a business concept tied to going all in on plan A with no plan B and no options to turn back. So is there a moment that stands out to you where you had to fully embrace this mindset to go all in on a decision and burn the boats?
Yeah, I remember my mum and dad, and they were looking out for me, but they were like, always have a plan B, always have a plan B. And I used to joke around, I'm like, well, why, if I have a plan B, I'm never going to make plan A work properly, because that's always like a comfort battle. So completely from the offset, I detached the plan B thing. I was like, right, needs to happen. Last year, when I was kind of working on Pals, we'd just done the NFT bid, and I knew that I wanted the brand to work. I knew that there was something special about it, and it got to a point where, like, if it didn't happen in that month, it wouldn't have happened, and like I would have had to move back home and leave London, and like everything would have just gone like that. So I just said to myself, right, the end of this month, I need to get, someone on board, find the person who can bring this to life with me. And anyway, long story short, message this amazing guy called Dave Collins on Instagram. He's huge in the creative industry. It's like, can we meet? Met him, and now we're business partners. And it just, from one simple Instagram message, and then we went and had a coffee, and then met at like a licensing fair in September, and it's kind of all kind of gone from there. But yeah, it goes back to that whole just go for it and like shoot your shot, and you'll find your people.
Especially if you're young, chances are like you can go back and like move in with your parents again or whatever.
Yeah, and it's to me, like, I've found home here. Like, I feel like all the people that I want to be around are in the industry or in London. And yeah, I mean, just being around these guys every day is so inspiring. Like, and it's funny how an idea that you have and you're so precious about, when you share it with other people and get everyone else's input, it becomes this thing of its own. And it's like, you've handed the baby over to like a group, and like, it's cool, super fun. And like you said, being 21, like I just want to, there's a guy called Michael Acton Smith, probably heard of him, and what he's done, like his entrepreneurial journey of doing so much, everything's different as well. He's done like Moshi Monsters, Calm, Firebox, I think it was his first business. Like, they're all completely different things. I'm just like, I want to do that. So let's do one thing well, then do the next. Like, just want to make the most of the time I've got, I guess.
What is something you had to learn the hard way, which you only found out from transitioning into a founder and CEO role?
That it is probably that process of making it happen can be really, really like challenging, like mentally. It leaks into like, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're thinking, is that going to work? Oh, I need to send that email. Like, I think you've got to have thick skin to make things happen. It is hard, but you've just got to make that challenge a full challenge and not see it as like, oh, I've got to go and do this, and I've got to go, get this train here to go and meet this person and stuff. Like, think about it as, actually, I get to go and do that stuff. I get to go and meet this person, not that you've got to. And it just, all mindset changes, isn't it? And I just not learned it the hard way. I'd say more, I've learned it from a real life scenario. Whereas a lot of people going into this for the first time, like, might just think it's smooth sailing and it'll just happen like that. You've just got to, when you get those knockbacks, take them, because it's character building.
100%. And I guess, like, when you do get those knocks, like, if you have people around you, then you can go to them and they always, like, not necessarily pick you up again, but I think if you have those people around you and essentially like your community or support network or like whatever it is, like those core 5-10 people, then that definitely then helps like get you back on track and like the direction you're going.
100%. I mean, like, can't reiterate how much people have been so supportive and like cheered me on with ideas. Like, I've got a friend called Luke Thomas, lives in America now, but he's just amazing for like being a real sounding board for me in like business, and really help so many people who have just kind of given me that shot, and I'd love to one day be able to do that for when I'm older, like find someone who's 21 and do the same thing like that. That's the goal, is to get to a point where I can do that, like pay it forward and do the same for someone else.
And then finally, reflecting on your experience so far as an artist and entrepreneur, what would be your message to young aspiring entrepreneurs?
That if you've got an idea, put it out in the world and don't hold it back. Don't put it in a cupboard. Don't hide it, because if you think, even if you're thinking it's a bit of a silly idea, it's probably not. And there'll be people out there who will love it. I put stuff out there that I thought was rubbish, and ironically, the stuff that people prefer the most. So yeah, just go for it. Take a shot. Gamble on yourself, and find. Like, I go back to what I said at the start. Like, just find your people, and find that group who you can be yourself around, and then you've got a good setup then.
Yeah, and I think with that whole thing of like putting yourself out there, I think there's, I guess, like the fear and intimidation from that. Because it's always like, oh, what's this person going to think, right?
But it could be something as simple as like, just if you've got a business idea, just set the Instagram up or buy the domain to that website. Put a little pitch deck together or something. Just baby steps to kind of ease your way into it. And then, well, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, there is that kind of fear of, oh God, I put it out there now. Is it the right thing to put out there? And it can be, it can be deleted on it, like whatever. Leave it up for a few days, and if you still don't like it, you can take it down, no problem. But just put yourself out there.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those where by putting your stuff out there, like ultimately the people that care about you, want to support you, or interested in what you're doing, they're going to find you. So don't worry about the other comments or like, whatever other people are. Like, your people will find you by putting stuff out there into the world.
100%. Yeah, it's exciting. I just love the fact that there's so many people out there who've probably got genius ideas, and there's probably so many people sat on ideas like that, like super clever ideas that would change the world. If everyone had to put an idea into a pot, like, imagine how many cool things would come out. Like, yeah, I just love thinking about that. Everyone's got a creative bone in them, I reckon.
There's some like weird saying, isn't there, where it's like the most expensive place is the graveyard, because that's like where all the ideas that were never started were.
Do you know what's mad? Yeah, so someone described it. This is actually a really good like visualization. Someone described it as, everyone's got ideas and they float over, they're floating around everyone's heads every day, and there's only a certain amount of people who can actually grab them and put them onto paper and make them an actual thing. So everyone has probably the same ideas pass through their heads at some point. It's just catching them and bringing them to life. Well, I know what you mean. Like, yeah, there's probably so many things that people have thought of that haven't happened.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's a great way to end this episode. So, Sean, thank you very much for your time and for a thoughtful conversation. For anyone listening, if you'd love to follow Sean's journey, then links to all his socials will be in the description.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
It's been great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us, to leave a review, and to connect with us on our socials.